So, in an effort to reacquaint myself with character and all the different sub characters in story and tone, I'm going to start working with fairy tale again. And my working title for this piece is Once Upon a Dream, and I'm going to share some of it with you as I go along. Let's start. Once upon a dream. Once upon a time. That is how most fairy tales start, isn't it? They start with that one simple yet memorial and time-honored phrase, once upon a time. But this is a different sort of fairy tale for a different sort of time. So we shall start differently as well. We shall start with once upon a dream. Once upon a dream, in a land far away, in a world full of dreams, in a world full of hope, in a world called Evermore, lived a girl named Sasha Rose. Sasha Rose was a normal teenage girl, living an almost normal teenage life. But she had not always been so. Sasha Rose had been a princess. On this particular night, Sasha Rose was having the most disturbing of dreams. A dream that started with her most cherished memories before morphing into her darkest and worst. Her beautiful stepmother, Rosalind of Rylak's love, turning to hate. Her most trusted huntsman, Gregor, raising the dark and curved dagger before whispering, run, and run she had. She had run until she crossed from her native Rylak into the neighboring kingdom of Lonstus. It was there in the woods that she had collapsed. The smell of dark, damp forest, the echo of an owl, and a full moon set on black velvet cast ominous shadows, all serving to remind her that Lonstus was not as tame as Rylak. In Lonstus, anything could happen. Any manner of creature might happen upon you, for Lonstus did not demand registration and segregation between humans and creatures. In Lonstus, magic was not hidden within dimly lit and secret underground caverns. Magic danced along the rainbows, and stars were for wishing. Lonstus also had the most aggressive paparazzi, the most royal fan clubs, and the best balls. Sasha woke with a start as someone pounded mercilessly on the front door of the cottage in which she resided. A kindly doctor, Dr. Cornelius Rutherford, had stumbled upon the unconscious teen and carried her safely to his office back in Turin. He and his 5 brothers had listened with rapt attention as she revealed her tale of fear, injustice, ending with the attack on her life. And it was there and then that the doctor had decided to offer her a home. No longer would she be known as Princess Sasha Maria Rose, but Sasha Rutherford, a distant niece that he and his brothers would raise and protect. It was idyllic for now, but when Sasha gazed to the east, towards Rylak, towards home, she could almost feel her stepmother's searching eyes. Her own large dark brown eyes snapped open as the pounding resumed. Throwing back her covers, she slid down the banister and skidded across the kitchen to the door. Throwing it open, she came face to face with Cecily Van Holstein, otherwise known as CCV. CCV was the wealthy only daughter of the most successful entertainment lawyer in Turin, perhaps in Lonstus itself. She was also Sasha's best friend. Well, he's gone and done it, the diminutive CCV announced as she rushed past the sleepy-eyed Sasha and flung herself into one of the dining room chairs. Sighing with much gloom, she shook her dark gold curls, dropped her cameo face into her hands. Who's done what? Sasha cautiously queried as she poured a cup of coffee. Sasha was not a morning person. Although, having lived her life in a castle as the crown princess for the entirety of her life, no one had ever asked her anything of her, least of all desiring communication immediately upon waking. Sasha was still learning how to live a regular life, a non-royal life. She found it somewhat more challenging than she had anticipated. "My father!" exclaimed Miss V. Tears escaped her huge emerald eyes and ran down her cheeks. "He was out again last night with the Morgana." "The Morgana?" Sasha looked up at her friend. "Is that a new monster?" "Madame Morgana, and she very well may be. I saw her get pricked in the finger and she didn't bleed. Or maybe she did and it was green." Sasha rolled her eyes at her tiny friend. "Cece. Okay, I wasn't actually looking, but that's beside the point. The point is my father has been out with her twice this week and the week is not over. What do you think's going on?" Cece nodded her great meaning. "So this is about your father and Madame Morgana." "Thank goodness," Sasha stalled. "For a moment, I thought you were going to tell me that Prince Leonardo had gone off and married a fairy princess and was switching realms." The crown prince of Lonstus was usually CCV's absolute favorite topic. Sometimes the mere mention of his name would make her eyes glaze over and produce a dreamy yet disturbing smile, which was why she was the president of Turin's chapter of the Prince Leonardo Charming Fan Club. Official. My life is practically over and you make jokes. Cece peered up at Sasha from between her fingers. Besides, tabloids haven't even hinted at any sort of romance in his life. As far as I can tell, and I read all the tabloids, the prince is happily slaving away at med school. Relief, Sasha joked. Placing her hands over her heart, Cece took a deep breath. This is bigger than Prince Leonardo Charming. And that was really saying something, as the crown prince was the object of nearly every teenage girl's fantasy in all of the kingdoms. He was a perfectly muscled 6'2", with shoulder-length light brown hair, bright, intelligent blue eyes, and a confident smile. He truly was the picture-perfect, although somewhat reluctant, royal celebrity. Rumors of his sword arm and jousting skill abounded, but Prince Leonardo was at his heart a man of peace, which is why, of course, he had spent the last several years at med school. Anyone can take lives. He wanted to learn how to save them. This only fueled his fandom. Okay, Sasha breathed. Sasha understood her friend's fear only too well. A stepmother. An intruder stepping in and rearranging your life, changing the order of everything you held dear. An interloper poised for betrayal. A stepmother. Her own had proven deadly. But Sasha's past was entirely unknown to Cecily Van Holstein. We'll talk about it as I get ready, decided Sasha, and she led the way through the homey cottage and up the stairs to her bedroom. Cece threw herself across Sasha's bed, clutching a pillow. Oh, crap, what a cracker. Sasha, what am I going to do? She really is horrible, even if her blood isn't green, but it might be. What if he marries her? Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. In truth, Madame Morgana was tough. Cold. She was tall, with dark brown hair pulled back fiercely from her face in the neatest bun imaginable, sharp cheekbones, arched eyebrows, for these piercing gray eyes, and a perfect, although improbably narrow nose made the Madame quite imposing. She was beautiful, but it was in a stand-up straight and pray there was no dirt under your fingernails kind of way. Her twin daughters, Annette and Juliet, had inherited their looks from their mother, as well as her imposing demeanor. They steadfastly avoided both Sasha and Cece, but then again, most of the popular group did. Emerging from the washroom, Sasha was ready with questions. I have questions, she announced. Cece groaned, but rolled over to face her tall, dark-haired friend. Has your father formally introduced you to the Madame? She began. The tiny blonde shook her head. Has he suggested a dinner, either casual or formal? Do they each have different meanings? Cece asked. Perhaps. Has he? Sasha asked as she brushed her long dark hair. No, he just goes out and returns late. Cece grimaced. So this is all very casual. Don't infer anything. But until he feels the need to propose anything, Sasha slipped her feet into her new, shiny, knee-length white boots. Don't even use that word. I feel like you poured ice down my spine, Cece moaned in very dramatic despair. Okay, I just meant that was a bad choice of words. I'm sorry. Sasha trailed off as she cringed at the implications of her own word choice. Poor Cecily, she'd been alone with her father for so many years. A stepmother, especially the Morgana, would send anyone into hysteria. Maybe he's just what? And Cece gasped out loud as she laid her hand across her mouth in horror. No, you can't do that. What were you thinking? She jumped off Sasha's bed and pointed at Sasha's new white boots. You can't wear those fabulous boots with that ugly old dress. Sasha sighed loudly as Cecily Van Holstein rifled through her large walk-in closet. This would most likely make them late for school, but CCV had very strong ideas with regards to fashion. Very strong, and she was rarely wrong. So, my father, she whispered as she rummaged, maybe he's just what? Just passing time? He's not taking it any further than a few casual evenings out, and he's keeping it separate from his home life. Maybe they're just friends, like playing cards and betting on wagon races. He could be lonely. He doesn't bet on wagon races much, Cece nodded. Maybe. Both girls had some very undeniable doubts. Caspian Van Holstein was the single most sought-after gentleman in the village, and he was never lonely. The Madame Morgana was not one to waste time. CCV tossed a silver and white dress on the bed. White, with silver panels up the side, it was form-fitting and short. Very short. Wear this, she commanded, with far more authority than a 5'2" doll-like teen should ever be able to achieve. Sasha eyed the dress suspiciously. I think it has a skirt. Not with those boots and this cape, it doesn't, Cece beamed as she held up a royal blue velvet cape. No one dared argue her when it came to fashion. Even an ex-princess like Sasha was no exception. There was simply no winning. Cece could outtalk just about anyone you could imagine, and she was truly a master. The master herself had chosen a filmy leather or lavender sleeveless top, matching tights, and silver sparkly sandals. She was truly adorable. Sasha quickly dressed and admired herself in the mirror. It was a great outfit. Honestly, Sasha, I don't know what you'd do without me. A small smile pulled at the corners of her mouth as she began to buff her nails. Cece loved to feel needed.